You're listening to Season 14 of the Virtual Tailgate, a media bullcrap production covering college football in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm Andrew, and joining me, as always, is David. You're not going to do anything but the clip? This is disappointing.
No, clip is that's
I'm the best player in the country. I'm humbly saying that, and I'm confident saying that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Smooth.
All right, Geoff.
We're gonna try something a little bit different this week. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break from my shameless plug for the world's finest work boots, Dakota's work boots, looking confident, feeling taller, and talk to you guys about something that came up in my house this week, and I really need to reach out to you guys to get your take on this. There is a phrase in our house, and it actually relates to your issue we talked about before the show, Andrew, that drives me nuts, and that is a certain someone in my house will go in, open the dishwasher, and say, "Is this clean?" Because for some people, this may be a legitimate question. If I load the dishwasher, if it is not clean, there is ranch dressing, there is ketchup, there is honey mustard, there's probably like chicken bones and crap because that helps scrape the stuff off while it's like scraping. There is never a question to me when I open up the dishwasher whether it is clean or dirty. I just think it's an issue. Dakota's work boots.
Fantastic. And bringing up the rear as ever, Jared.
Instead of doing the typical parody service announcement that I usually do here, I wanted to bring awareness regarding an awful disease that we are still working toward a cure for. Beloved North Carolina wide receiver Tylee Kraft died Saturday morning before the Tar Heels took the field against Georgia Tech, which was also UNC's cancer awareness game. The 23-year-old fought for 2.5 years against a rare stage 4 advanced form of lung cancer. He was honored with the Disney Spirit Award in 2022, which is presented to football's most inspiring individual or team. The football program released a statement, "Tylee meant so much to so many and affected us in ways we'll always be thankful for. He was one of one, and while he won't be with us in body, he'll be watching over us with his enduring smile and endless positivity." There are various ways to help those in need that are fighting this illness, and I encourage anyone to find a way to do so, either with your time or a donation. And always tell the ones you care about that you love them, because it may be the last time that you do. The more you know.
All right, well, be sure to join the tailgate on Facebook at Virtual Tailgate or email us at virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com. Geoff.
All right, yeah, thanks, Jared. Thank you for bringing that up. Certainly a sad story to hear about, and how much that impacts everybody. But we did have football that was played this week. We had some exciting games, some blowouts, some good performances. Looks like we are all going with the typical offensive side of the ball this week. So, Andrew, why don't you lead us off with your player of the week?
No surprise here, given how Clemson has played recently and especially this week. But Cade Klubnik is my player of the week, quarterback for Clemson. 31 of 41 passing for 309 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did a thing that hasn't been done since Trevor Lawrence did it in 2020, which is to throw multiple touchdowns in 5 straight games. Clemson definitely looking like the Clemson of old, or at least of recent past, this year in ways that they haven't for the past couple of seasons.
And my game ball is going to go to Isaac Brown, the running back from Louisville. The rookie running back had 20 carries for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. The second freshman to ever have at least 3 100-yard rushing games in his first year in collegiate football, with only one other player in Louisville's history doing this 5 times his freshman year. Does anyone want to guess who that player was?
It's got to be Lamar.
That is correct. Good old Lamar Jackson. He had a pretty busy day on Sunday, too.
All right. Well, for my game ball this week, I'm going with another signal caller. This one, Kyle McCord, transfer quarterback at Syracuse. McCord in the Orange's road victory over the NC State Wolfpack ended today 31 of 42, 346 yards, 2 more touchdowns. McCord this season, guys, has been over 300 yards in all 5 of his starts. He's putting together an incredible campaign. He is a big part of the reason that Syracuse is way ahead of schedule in this rebuild, and that earns him one more virtual tailgate game ball.
All right, and for my game ball, I'm going back to the aforementioned game that Jared was referencing, the UNC Cancer Awareness game. I'm going with they hosted the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech, and unfortunately for the Tar Heels, ended up slightly on the wrong end of the scoreboard, with my game ball going to Georgia Tech running back Jamal Haynes. Had a big game against the Tar Heels. A lot of points in this one, but he came up big when it counted. Ended up 19 rushes, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the biggest play was after UNC had scrapped and fought to tie the game up at 34 all after being down 34-24 with just a couple of minutes left in the game. Looked like this game might be headed for maybe a late field goal, maybe even overtime. UNC squeaks out with a win on a season that's been disappointing. And what happens but Jamal Haynes breaks a 68-yard touchdown run to break the hearts of the UNC faithful in that game. So definitely came through when it counted. A huge run, a huge play at the very end of the game, and the ultimately the game winner for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in that 41-34 victory over the Tar Heels on Saturday.
All right, well done, guys. So we're now going to jump down into our power rankings. Let's go ahead and take a look at our top 5 and then our bottom 3. At number 5, we got the SMU Mustangs dropping a spot after their bye week, because why not punish them? I should have looked ahead on this. I can't wait. The Tar Heels are 5-1, 2-0 in conference. Number 4, Louisville jumping up a spot after their 24-20 win over UVA. The Cardinals are 4-2 and 2-1 in conference play. Number 3, Pitt. Hey, you had a nice tough win against California, 17-15. 6-0, 2-0 in the conference. How do we reward you? We drop you a spot in the power rankings, because that's just how we do it here. Number 2, Miami, dropping a spot in our power rankings after a bye week. We are just really screwing some teams this week. 6-0, 2-0 in the conference. Number 1, Clemson, after their 49-14 win over Wake Forest. The Tigers are 5-1, 4-0 in the conference. The Tigers didn't actually jump up or down in the power rankings this week. They are still at number 1. Down our bottom 3, thankfully there are no changes up or down in our power rankings. 15, we have Wake Forest after their 49-14 loss. George Carlin, soundbite, I say why not?
Sounds like a good idea. Oh no, my little tool is broken. Here we go.
Andrew's playing that from the other room.
Apparently.
On the planet Pluto. Number
Apparently.
16, Stanford. Lost 49-7 to Notre Dame. I don't think we don't have the John Cena clip ready. So we're just going to skip that. And at number 17, still Florida State. They had a bye week. Is The Rock available by chance? Is he least on this planet?
The Rock says they kept you at the bottom of the barrel because you absolutely suck.
Oh, there you go. He was. Good. Okay.
Is that better?
That
all
worked
around?
better. Yeah.
Okay. I'm figuring it out little by little. Do you want to hear another one just to see if it's really figured out?
I mean, do you have the John Cena clip that we keep
No.
saying we're going to put in here? Oh.
No, you have to send it to me as audio, not just keep linking some like increasingly potato quality video.
Upgrade your phone, Andrew. It's
a family
2024.
program, Jared. We're not going with that anyway. Andrew's going to give us something clean and wholesome right now.
Clean and wholesome.
Shit.
I don't have that.
There goes that PG rating.
You caught on.
Okay. Oh, all right, boys. That's enough about the past. Let's look to the future, because we got some good ACC football matchups this weekend. Starting on Thursday nights, a little midweek action. The Virginia Tech Hokies hosting the Boston College Eagles at Lane Stadium on Thursday evening. Hokies entered this one 7-point favorites. looking to get in the right column here, taking on a BC team that has been a little bit ahead of schedule under Bill O'Brien. And it looks to me like our picks are all over the place. Let's start with Jared and Geoff, who both are taking BC in this one. What do you see? What do you like about the Eagles on the road here?
Well, I think the one thing we could start with is that they have more than a week to prepare for a Thursday night game. And I know Lane Stadium is one of the toughest places to play in all of college football, and it will be rocking. But the thing is, I would think that has now given Thomas Castellanos the time to recover from his injury. I butchered the name. I know I did.
Like I thought you. I was thinking as you were. I was like, oh man, he's gonna nail this.
Castellanos, Lanos. They're eating the cats. Anyway, the most important thing is it's given time for him to recover, and I think that's going to be enough of a difference maker to keep this game close. Boston College did miss his production on the field. And Virginia Tech, the one thing I do have a concern about is that their defense against decent running quarterbacks has been iffy at best. And so I think the Hokies, with their offense coming alive a little bit, having now a week plus to maybe fine-tune some things, I think they'll win. But I think Boston College definitely keeps this game close. This is a rivalry game back from the Big East days. ACC championship games they've been a few times, and it's always been a little close and dicey. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Hokies do find a way to win.
Yeah, this is. I think that this is a. I think Jared, you kind of summed it up pretty nicely. It's. This was a game that started out with that touchdown spread. It becomes you get a little bit of a boost from the Thursday night game. Obviously that favors the home team. Going into Lane Stadium is obviously a tough place for them to play, but this is one. There's really a couple of things going on. One, this is a Virginia Tech team that's been up and down and inconsistent on most of the season, and this is in a Boston College team that has, I don't want to say nobody. I mean, they haven't really had any signature wins on the season. I mean, they lost last time out. They lost to a Cavalier team that at least looks like they're at least a team that looks the part of a middle of the road ACC school. Really a close loss. About a month or so ago to a top 10 Missouri team. So this is a Boston College team, brings in the number one scoring defense in the ACC. So it's a defense that's going to make it hard for, I believe, for the Hokies to move the ball and put up a lot of points. So at the end of the day, would it shock me if Boston College came in and got the outright win? It certainly would not. But I think this is going to be a game that's going to be on the lower end of the scoring. And if you give me a full touchdown in this, based on the way BC's played, the inconsistency of the Hokies, I'll take that 7 and take the Eagles in this one.
All right, now Andrew and I are gonna pick the Hokies in this one. Andrew, why are we doing this?
Mostly because, Jared tends to pick against his team whenever they're actually good enough to win. So, if I'm just going to, counter play Jared, I think that it's a pretty safe bet to do that. But beyond that, I don't Virginia Tech has looked good of late, and Boston College has looked bad. Virginia Tech hasn't looked spectacular, but also what we know of Virginia Tech every year is that they get better as time goes on, as the season goes on. And so I don't think that they're going to just beat Boston College by 7. I think they're going to take them by at least 10, probably 2 whole touchdowns. So I'm willing to take Virginia Tech and give the points on this game, going Virginia Tech to cover the spread for this one. I think, you're a little bit less optimistic about it, David.
Yeah, I like the Hokies in this one. I think at home, the home field advantage makes a big difference here. And so I think the Hokies get the job done, but this looks like a close game to me. I think Jared kind of mentioned Thomas Castellanos with the extra week to recover and be ready. He is a dangerous ball player. So I think the Eagles keep it close, but I think this Hokies team, they've been so very close in the games that they've lost. It's hard for me to see them not getting the job done at home, but I think it's a tight game. So give me Virginia Tech on the money line, kind of hedging the bet there. But I like the Hokies to win. I like the fact that we're all kind of divided on this one. I think that's going to be a theme for this week because it looks like in all of our picks, we're kind of all over the place. And that brings us to another game like that. This is the Miami Hurricanes traveling to Louisville to take on the Cardinals. Miami comes in as 4-point road favorites in this one. At this time around, it's Andrew and Jared who are aligned, taking the Cardinals. What's going on with that?
Well, I have the Cardinals for the straight up win, just mostly for the better odds output. But again, I see Miami as a 4-2 team, and I understand they're 6-0. I understand they won the games technically, but in my eyes, I watched Miami lose 2 games that if the refs did their job and stood by the call that they had not enough evidence to overturn, and B, go ahead and had Cal just have an epic 25-point collapse the last week, they've lost 2 games in a row. And we wouldn't be praising Miami up and down thinking they're one of the best teams in the ACC. I don't think they are. I think the best team in the ACC is the one that lost week 1 in Georgia. I think it's still the Clemson Tigers. But I think Louisville is a decent enough team. Miami has to go up to Kentucky to play this game. I don't know if, a lot of things can get a little funky and weird. I think it's a 12 o'clock kickoff, too, I think is what I saw. So Miami's got to be up and early. I guess this is more of a hunch, but I just don't think Miami's that great, and I think Louisville wins. And I actually kind of think they may win by 10 points, at least.
If I ever have to, start my own army or anything, if I have to raise up a militia, I'm going to look for people who hate our enemy with the same passion that Jared hates Miami with.
So these 2 titans of the ACC, at least at the beginning of the year, that are finally coming together to clash, have won their have had the outcomes of their last 2 ACC contests be a total winning points of 6, if I'm doing this math right. 1-point win over Cal, 4-point win over Tech for Miami, 4-point win over Virginia, 3-point loss to SMU for Louisville. No matter where you think these teams are sitting, the numbers say these guys are going to play a close game against each other. And so when you got that spread at 4, that's Miami's largest. 4 is Miami's largest margin of victory since they started ACC play. Since mid-September, that is their largest margin of victory. It is easy peasy for me to say Louisville is going to stay within that 4-point margin of victory, if not coming away with a win. I agree with Jared. Gosh, that's hard to say. But man, Miami should have lost to Cal and Virginia Tech. The refs were on their side. The refs are also on Louisville's side, as we saw at the very end of the UVA Louisville game. So I think the refs are going to have to make up their mind, because the ref show is going to tell us who the top team in the ACC is after this week.
This is the Thanos. We're entering Thanos territory here. It's going to snap the fingers, and one of these teams will just be gone.
A little bit of an aside. I think, can we all at least agree that the missed pass interference at the end of the Virginia-Louisville game was the worst call in the ACC this year?
I will not assent to that. I'm sorry, David. I should be more of a homer. I should be more of a homer. It's not even the worst missed call yet. Look, the worst missed call was the targeting one against Cal, because that is dangerous. Those are the 2 calls that should have gone the other way this year. Otherwise, there are no other. Yeah, you're right. There are no other calls.
Oh, you guys are full of crap. Jesus Lord.
And now we heap praise upon the team that has won because the refs love them. David,
that's exactly
Geoff,
right.
Go.
Geoff, go. Tell these clowns why they're wrong.
Well,
how much Coke money are they giving you guys for this endorsement?
Well, I mean,
KOCH.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think I afford to pass out like candy all these these fine work boots. That's because work boots looking confident, feeling taller here. But you know who should be feeling confident right now are these Miami Hurricanes, coming into on the heels of maybe some questionable officiating, as you guys said, but they are nevertheless 6-0. Cam Ward looks the part of a Heisman finalist as we enter, about the midway part of this season, and these are two teams that this is a Louisville team that is 4-2, has definitely stumbled along the way, had some games they didn't look quite as sharp. I hear you, Andrew. This is a Miami team that has played closer than they should have the last couple of weeks, but still has looked the part pretty much the entire season. I think that this it's dangerous territory because we keep waiting for Miami to crap the bed, and this could clearly be the one, because in any week it feels like we're waiting for Miami to come back to earth. As we always talked about, you always take the under on the win on the over under for Miami's win loss total on the season, and they are getting awfully close to that whatever it was 9.5 that was their over under on the season to be comfortable with taking the under.
I was worried. I thought,
but
I thought we were closer. I thought it was only like 6.5 or something.
But I'm starting to buy this Miami team, the Louisville team. They've been a little bit inconsistent, had some games that they haven't looked quite as sharp. I do think that it is interesting in this matchup with the matchup of the two quarterbacks that Miami brings in the top rushing and passing defense in the ACC. Louisville's pass secondary is no slouch either. I do think it is interesting that despite the firepower both these teams have, it could be a game that does end up closer than it feels like it's going to be. But I feel like the offensive abilities on both these teams, I believe Miami's the winner in that game. And I just when I think a game is going to be high scoring, I just lean towards when you have a line that's around 4, that some way somehow those games are going to end up with more than a 4-point spread. So I'm going to take Miami. I'm going to take them to take the 4-point victory over the Louisville Cardinals, and win going away by at least 4 in this game. But David, you might be just a little bit different in your take of this game than I am.
Well, I think you might have convinced me here. So, especially as you talk about Miami's defense, which has been pretty impressive for the most part. Though once ACC play has started, they look a lot more vulnerable. But do you guys know where Miami ranks nationally in points scored?
No.
Well, gosh, they put up like 40 points a game, pretty much.
Yeah,
like every single game.
They put up 47.7 a game. You don't have to go far down the list because they're number one. You know where they're ranked in rushing or in passing yards per game?
I mean, Cam Ward's got. I mean, are they number one? I mean,
they're number one as well. This is a team with a stout defense and with an unbelievable offense. Going up against a Louisville team that's good, no doubt, but they're not on the Hurricanes level. Miami has survived their first two ACC matchups on the season. That can go one of two ways. So when you see teams that kind of barely squeak by, sometimes that's a sign that failure is imminent, that eventually they're going to run out of luck. But the other thing that sometimes happens is they gain some confidence and they learn how to win. Winning is a skill that you hone over time, and the U looks like they're getting there. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but if you look at the remainder of the schedule for Miami, this is probably the last game where the spread's going to be this close. If they get past Louisville on the road on Saturday, they've got a real legitimate shot at running the table until the ACC championship game. Now, maybe that means they kind of look past Louisville. That would not be wise. But I think Miami's going to win. I had them on the money line. I am tempted to go with Geoff because I think Miami wins this by a touchdown or more. But I'm going to resist that urge because I know that we're all idiots, and so I should not follow anybody else's lead.
Well, I think at least one of us has to not be an idiot by default in this one, though, right?
It's going to be a push.
It's going to be a push.
All right, now
Gosh,
here's
I hope so.
the really weird
that would be
thing here.
great.
I don't know what to make of. The only thing it gives me some hope because Geoff is the only one of us on the season who is in the black on these picks, and so I like the fact that he and I are aligned on both the Miami Louisville game and this upcoming matchup at Wallace Wade Stadium as the Seminoles of Florida State come in. I don't think anyone thought we'd be uttering this sentence at the beginning of the season. Florida State comes in as 3-point underdogs on the road at Duke. And here again, Geoff and I are aligned. We're both taking Florida State not just to cover, but to win outright. Geoff, it's almost impossible to feel confident in this Florida State team. But what has led you to take them to win this one?
Yeah, this is one that is as much gut as anything. Because you don't have to go back very far. This Florida State team coming in is 1-5 on the season and is a couple of missed field goals away from coming in 0-6. So you think, how in the world can you be taking a 1-5, should be 1-6 or 0-6 Florida State team on the money line against the 5-1 Duke team? And I think that part of it is really the level of some of the teams that they've played so far. I mean, it's really trying to make it comparative because they've last time out they played as close a game with Clemson as anybody has played for most of the season, save for the the blowout against Georgia that they had early in the season. They looked like a team that could compete. They've moved on from DJU, so that gives them a little bit of rejuvenation, maybe try a little bit something different at quarterback. You don't know what you can make of that first month of the season when he was at quarterback, what they're going to get with the change at that position. And this is a Duke team that, for all the talk of being 5-1, and I don't want to badmouth them because I like to see Duke do well, and I think it's good for the ACC and for the show when they're doing well. Not a lot of anything that really jumps off the page as far as impressive. So all you can say, well, all you can do is beat who's in front of you, and that's true. That's what they've done. But the last couple of games out, got down 20-0 to a UNC team that you could argue is the worst team in the ACC, or at least darn close to it, and had to crawl back and squeak that one out. Really a not great performance against Georgia Tech, a team that I think has kind of come back to earth and is probably in the close to the middle, if not slightly below the middle of the ACC, and Duke lost that game last time out. So there's something that makes me feel like this is a Duke team that's 5-1, not necessarily a proven 5-1 team. A Florida State team that's 1-5 has shown the ability to be competitive in some of their games, at least with some of the teams that I think are probably better than anybody that Duke's played on the season. I believe Clemson's definitely better than anybody they've played. Memphis is probably better than almost anybody that Duke has played. Cal is probably better than anybody Duke has played. And Florida State beat Cal and then at least played somewhat respectable games by the margins against Clemson and Memphis. So it's more gut than anything. Both these teams, I believe, both these teams had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, so nothing on the bye week. But something just tells me that this is maybe not a get-right game for Florida State, but maybe a come-back-to-earth game for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see as well, Geoff. I think Duke's 5-0 start this season was a little bit of fool's gold when you look at the level of competition they were playing and the fact that they really did struggle in some of those games anyway. I think you saw them come back to earth on the road at Georgia Tech, and Florida State is another level still. And I know, we've got FSU at the bottom of our power rankings. They have certainly stumbled all the way through, but there is a lot of talent on that sideline, and there's still some amount of pride left. And I think the Seminoles come in and take care of business against a Duke team that is better than expected, but not really upper echelon of the ACC. So I'm exactly with you. Give me FSU not just to cover, but to win outright in this one. Jared and Andrew, you guys have the exact opposite of this. Why?
Florida State has to go on the road. They've been garbage this year. They're not going to get any better. This is a Duke win all the way, and if they can only give Duke 3, I may as well take them on the spread instead of just the money line.
Ian, nailed it.
Thank you.
I like the fact that when we get to next week's episode, we're going to know a lot about whether Andrew and Geoff are the true goated experts of the ACC or whether it's Geoff and me. But bring it
Jared's
on.
nobody, apparently.
That's his tradition.
Well, that goes without saying.
Oh man. Well, before we get out of here, we better hit up with some quickfire bets. Just touring around the ACC for some of the other interesting action. I've got NC State to cover the ridiculous 9.5 point spread against Cal at Cal. Not for any good reason about NC State, but just because, man, Cal's already broken my heart so many times. There's no way they're going to pull off a double-digit victory against anyone in the ACC this year, I'm afraid.
Wolfpack are pretty bad right now.
I know, yeah. but still, Cal, just Cal.
Speaking of bad, SMU at Stanford. The Mustangs are -14. Stanford is terrible. I think this is an easy layup, and I got the Mustangs covering the -14.
I heard you, Jared. There, I actually think you might have the easiest pick of the week. Yeah, the Mustangs are putting up some points against lesser opponents, but you almost dropped the John Cena there, didn't you? You wanted to say that Stanford was, what was it, Jared? I heard you.
SS.
Yeah. So I've got Notre Dame. So for my quick hit, I've got Notre Dame -8.5 versus Georgia Tech. You take out the NIU loss and the teams that they've played that are at least competitive, like Louisville. They are just woodshedding every mediocre and worse team that they've played this year. -8.5. I think if they don't beat Georgia Tech by 2 touchdowns, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think you guys really nailed it, especially Jared and Geoff with those SMU and Notre Dame picks. Those are both very good football teams. Doesn't leave me with a lot of options, but I'm going to go UConn -1 over Wake Forest at home. UConn has been surprisingly good this year, and the wheels really may be coming off in Winston-Salem for Dave Clawson and company. And I think the idea that they're going to go on the road and pull off a victory against a decently strong UConn team is just more than I can see happening. So give me UConn, and I'll lay the 1 point in that one.
All right. Well, that's it for the Virtual Tailgate. You can send your questions or comments to virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
Always remember these 3 rules. Never get less than 12 hours sleep.
Never play cards with a guy who has the same first name as a city.
And never get involved with a woman with a tattoo of a dagger on her body.
Stick to that, and everything else is cream cheese.
That's ball game.